Welcome, dear viewers, to our program Poetry Blows Our Blues Away. Today, I come to you with a very unique poem whose charm transcends all times. Though it is repeatedly prescribed to students at different levels, familiarity does not dwindle the charm of it. It is Robert Frost's Mending Wall. It begins in delight and ends in wisdom. Let's try to analyze the poem. The author and his neighbor meet to mend a wall which divides their properties. The author's property, the field, is full of apple trees, and his neighbor's is full of pine trees. Frost wants to tell his neighbor that his apple trees will not get across and eat his pines. So where is the need of a wall between our properties? But his neighbor doesn't want to listen to him. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring season makes the author playful, and he wants to put a notion in his, he wonders if he can put a notion in his head, in his neighbor's head. Good fences are necessary where there are cows. Here there are no cows. Then why do we need walls? And what am I walling in or walling out? These are the questions that arise in his mind. He shares them with us, his readers, but he doesn't put these questions to his neighbor directly, because already his neighbor has built an insurmountable wall in his head, which will not listen to dissent or disagreement or any kind of difference of opinion. He only goes on parroting his father's line, good fences make good neighbors. He only goes on practicing the age-old tradition. Two statements are repeated in this poem. One is Robert Frost's own argument, something there is that doesn't love a wall. In the first and 35th line, and his neighbor's statement, good fences make good neighbors, in the 27th and 45th line, last line. First line is Robert Frost's argument, and last line is his neighbor's argument. Something there is that doesn't love a wall means something there is in nature. The frosty weather in winter swells the ground and brings the wall down. Frost doesn't love walls. Frost in winter also doesn't love walls. Nature is against building walls. Human nature is for building walls. Frost participates in this ritualistic repair, in this practice of mending wall, considering it as an outdoor game and nothing more. They will only make their fingers rough handling the stones. Unless they put a charm on the stones, they will not be able to balance them, because some are loaves of bread and some are round as balls. The moment their backs are turned, these stones will fall down, and again gaps will be made, holes will be made in the walls. His neighbor, carrying a boulder in each hand and walking in the shadows, appears like a Stone Age savage to Robert Frost. He is not walking in the physical shade of shadows of the trees, shade of the trees. It is figurative darkness too, darkness of ignorance, thinks the author. Though we have progressed from Stone Age to Space Age, we still cling on to age-old practices and proverbs. Herein comes the wisdom of the poem. We need not erect walls, we need not fight wars. We can sit across a table and discuss our issues and resolve them. Still, yet, we cling on to old practices. That's the sadness of it. Robert Frost is said to have read out this poem to Khrushchev in Moscow. The playful note in the tone of the speaker makes the poem very alluring. Unless we give it a nuanced reading, we will miss the subtle message. Majority of the readers make the mistake of reading the message as good fences make good neighbors. But the subtle message Frost conveys is something there is that doesn't love a wall. Recalling Tagore's line from Gitanjali, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake, I would like to conclude this episode. I will come back to you with yet another fantastic poem. Till then, happy poetry reading.